Welcome to Boom Goddess Radio. This is Jennifer Davis Page, your host, and we had such a wonderful time interviewing Chef Traci Vincent and Dr. Michael Engs, and we were talking about the importance of food and the traditional foods of Juneteenth. And we ran out of time, and we had so much good information that I thought that all of you would like to hear. So we are going to give you a snippet of what we talked about after we all signed off. Thank you and enjoy.
If you have, just throw every pepper in the grocery store, chop up, remove the seeds if you can't stand the heat like me, and it adds so much flavor. Add garlic, you'll be like, oh my God. I always finish my beans when I put peppers in it.
Okay.
Like nothing goes to waste.
Tell us, Chef Traci. Yep.
Okay.
Can we use all kind of peppers?
Oh, absolutely. Now I have always skipped Scotch bonnet and habanero because I'm too afraid.
They're so hot. Yeah, they are really.
Because I don't even want it in my house because I'm afraid I'm gonna touch my face.
Right.
Anyway, but I would say if you like that kind of heat, I would say go for it. But I've used serrano, poblano, hatch, bell peppers, of course, jalapenos. Right. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Anaheim. And that's where, and so if you can imagine, I just got a pile of peppers, onions, and garlic. And I'm chopping food processor too if I'm too tired. Mm-hmm. And then I saute that first. And after I've done a flash soak to my beans, like I boil it for 3 minutes out of the package, strain that water just like it's pasta. And then I, would saute with a little bit of avocado oil. That's another way to use an avocado, by the way. And then you pour the beans in there, use enough water to cover it up, and then put it in your pressure cooker. And you'll be like, oh my God, why is this so good? And there's no meat in it. They're vegan. They're vegan.
I'm going to try that out.
Yeah. Our rule of thumb out here, Chef Traci, is to say, hey, the smaller it is, the hotter it's going to be. So some people think if it's little, like a poutine, you can get away with it. But no. Yeah, your suggestions were right on. As far as what we're doing in the Southwest, where peppers are a staple for us. And like you said, there are meat substitutes for many people in terms of taste. Your taste buds are not really telling the difference until it's over.
No, you'd be surprised if you used to eat meat growing up, you have a lot of muscle memory behind what this would taste like with meat. So I'm eating the beans and I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost tasting the smoked turkey and the ham hock just because it's beans. The brain is interesting how it has a memory for things like that.
Isn't it? You're so right. Yes.
Can we add a little liquid smoke to our pot to kind of get that flavor to our beans?
I would challenge you to use smoked paprika and smoked salt or smoked pepper.
Okay.
Because liquid smoke is processed. I mean, so is the smoked salt, but at least they probably just put smoked chips against a container of salt versus liquid smoke. What are they using to color it? Mm-hmm. Preserve it so that it has shelf life, all of that stuff. I'm skeptical.
Yeah. Well, I want to put in another plug for that program, Invisible Vegan, because it's filmed by young African-American people, and they actually cook meals while they're talking. And one of the things I like about it is it takes the onus off each one of us to be our own advocate in the community and gives people something else to look at and go, oh, look at all these people, what they're doing. And so we need to spread the message broadly. And that's one of the programs that I found is not only very watchable, but you see people who look like you in it saying the same thing we've been saying for the last half hour, 45 minutes. And that's what we need. We need more messages from us because otherwise, I love Southern Louisiana because my barber, Mr. Hunter, comes from there. And so we're always talking food because he's one of the chefs for his church, and he's always cooking food for a lot of people. And he does the best barbecue. But I keep telling them, make sure 3/4 of the plate is green or red.
Yes.
Or something other than that barbecue, because I'm going to eat your ribs every day.
Colors.
That you make them for an event like that. But I would really like the collards and other things that are going to be healthier for me along with it. And the beans, the bean dishes that are vegetarian. You see, now we're starting to balance out our diet in such a way that the harm we're doing ourselves from the things we most like in terms of muscle taste bud memory, fried chicken and barbecue ribs, are not going to be as overwhelming to us because we're not just eating them, we're eating other vegetable-based foods like our ancestors would.
And I'll tell you something about chicken. It's in that muscle memory thing. I made vegan tacos with chickpeas, and it were canned organic chickpeas. I dried them out, coated them in cornstarch, and then seared them in a little bit of oil and taco seasoning. And so I swear I was eating a chicken taco.
Interesting.
That's great.
Nice recipe.
It was crispy. It was meaty. You know, chickpeas are very, they're kind of hearty. So you're not like eating lentils or something. You know, it definitely has some bite. And I was like, oh my gosh, why am I tasting a grilled chicken taco right now? And I am somebody who knows, like I said in the end of the program, I am the girl who will drive to the rural community and get a cane sugar soda and pork cracklings, but I can only eat like 4 until I start to feel sick because there's so much grease. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if I'm telling you that this vegan thing tastes good, I know what I'm talking about because I can eat that and then also eat a vegan taco and be completely happy. And I can save my organs from all of that work of trying to, you know, I guess, what do you call that, schedule where the vitamins go, where the minerals go, detoxing my body, processing my food. I want to give them a break sometimes and eat vegetables. But people have to know vegans. I got exposed to vegans when I lived in Washington, D.C. And some of them were more extreme. Some of them I picked up best practices from. So I think it's just we need to keep talking with each other, creating that space of understanding, not only for race relations, but definitely for food practices. If there's somebody that owns a garden and they've been eating vegan for 10 years, why don't you just ask them what they're up to? Earth, Wind, and Fire, that band has been vegan since the 70s, and we all know how great they look.
Exactly.
Okay, so the hardest part about avocados is just getting them in the house because, of course, we have Hass avocados that come in a sack and they're like hard as a rock. And people are like, I don't even know when this is ripe. I don't know if I should buy it now. Just get it in the house. That's what I always tell my students. Just buy the sack, even if it's green and hard as a rock. And it takes about 3 to 4 days before it becomes soft enough and ripe enough to eat. So from there, you can cut it from the little seed pod, the seed that's removable from the stem, from where it was hanging from the tree. Cut from there, cut it in half. There's a huge seed in the middle. Just go ahead and get into it. Let the seed kind of guide you all the way around with the knife. You can cut it a second time in the opposite direction so that you cut it in quarters, and that makes the seed easier to pop out. From there, it can be used as, it is a fruit, and it is also high in fat, 30 grams of fat per avocado. So if you want to watch your fat, eat half of it in per day. That's what I had to do a few years back, just watching, because I could eat avocados every single day. You can spread it in place of mayonnaise on a sandwich. You can mix it in a salad, like in a chicken salad. You can slice it and add it into a green salad and have tomato, cucumber, avocado. It always adds a creamy texture. It's a good fat, it has about 6 grams of fiber. It's great for your skin and your hair. Let's see, other things about it, other ways to eat it. I used to actually take a bowl of that vegan beans that I talked about earlier, and I'd slice avocado on top and pico de gallo. And I just put that on top. And that to me was filling. So if you come from that clean your plate kind of background, you know, eat, which I did. I put that in there to get that full feeling without overeating. Other ways to eat avocado, of course, guacamole. I think it's fantastic to eat guacamole. You can always skip the chips and eat it with squash. You can slice zephyr squash, zucchini. Yellow squash is a little bit more neutral than zucchini in flavor. So if you're not really a fan of raw veggies, and also tomato and avocado together are a cancer fighter, anti-carcinogenic. So it's a good way to consume. You can just do a salad of tomatoes, a raw avocado, a little bit of red wine vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper. Boom, that is a salad. Very healthy to consume, and it's delicious. Yeah, oh my gosh! In the summer, when it's hot outside, you can cool off eating something like that. So I hope that that's enough quick recipes. You can also mix it with shrimp. We do a shrimp salad where we mix the avocado and the poached shrimp. You can poach it in like crawfish boil and mix it into the avocado, stuff it back into the avocado shell, eat it that way. Yeah, like my little hand gestures. Eat it that way.
Let's talk real quickly about this new avocado toast. If you're going to cheat a little bit with yes. What's the best bread to use if you want to have some avocado toast? What's the best bread to use?
Okay, speaking to my people out there who are not able to get organic bread, I would go to get Dave's Killer Bread. It's available at most grocery stores. Has a lot of grains. It's whole grain. It's got seeds like pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, all kind of great stuff. And so if you're going to eat the carbs, you get a little bit of a benefit of all the seeds in it as well. You can, you can mix it with, like if you can get organic bread or Ezekiel bread, which is in the freezer section of most grocery stores. Organic wheat, just making sure it's whole grain, so you're not having that refined wheat, skyrocket through your system, the spike up your insulin level. But I would do a mild toasting a light toasting on the bread. I would, in a separate bowl, take half the avocado, mix it with, a little bit of salt, a little bit of red pepper flakes and honey. That's Kylie Jenner's recipe for it. Spread that on your toast. I personally like everything bagel and a little bit of lemon juice. And I just spread that on with a little salt and pepper. That way or you can actually skip the salt if you're using everything bagel, because that is actually, sodium is contained in that. And spread it on. And some people like to put a little bit of tomatoes. You can get creative from that point. You can add more, a hard-boiled egg or poached egg on top. It's a healthy snack.
We'll live to be 100 now, thanks to you. Do you have any final words, Dr. Michael?
No, just a caution that as we introduce new foods to people and we're helping them change their diet to be more healthy, we also have to be aware that so many other people, because of our health problems, are having allergy reactions. So always introduce something new to a person in small amounts. I love avocado. I love melon. But at 45, I got a serious allergy reaction from all of them. So I can't eat watermelon anymore, nor can I eat avocado. So I think we just have to be cautious. I remember going to a dinner just recently with a friend of mine, and she called us all before dinner and gave us the menu of what she was going to cook, because so many people in the group had allergies to something, and she actually worked around that. So I think we have to be concerned with health on both ends. And, as we introduce new foods to people, like those recipes, boy, I would really miss my avocado when I just listened to Traci. We have to do it in small quantities so we can see people's initial reaction to it, but encourage them rather than discourage them and say, well, you may not like this, but you may like this over here. Exactly. And especially her suggestion, start young. Kids, especially preschoolers, are the best people to teach to eat well, because once they get the taste, they're going to go for it the rest of their lives.
We will take a brief break, and when we return, we'll continue our interview with Representative Reginald Bolding.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Welcome back to Boom Goddess Radio. This is Jennifer Davis Page, your host, and we are going to continue our conversation with Representative Reginald Bolding. Page, your host. And today I have the privilege of interviewing State Representative Reginald Bolding. Welcome, Representative Bolding, to Boom Goddess Radio.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Your interview is part of a series on Juneteenth. And tell our listeners why it was so important to you to push to the legislation to commemorate Juneteenth. Tell us that story, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, actually the first bill that I ever got signed into law by the governor was to make Juneteenth a state holiday. And that was extremely important because growing up in Akron, Ohio, I actually had never heard of Juneteenth before. Many times for many kids growing up in our schools, they don't get a full experience of what it means to actually live in this country and understand all the historical aspects of Juneteenth. And we've seen it now with everything that happened in Tulsa, and people are learning about the full history of what it means to have lived in this country. And for me, once learning about Juneteenth and its celebration here in Arizona and across other places in this country, it was important for me to ensure that our kids, they don't have to go through another generation and cycle in which they don't know our history of who we are as a people or who we are as a country. And the fact of the matter is, I was able to convince my colleagues in the state legislature over the course of a couple of years that Juneteenth actually, it does exist, it is a thing, and we were ultimately able to get it signed into law by the governor.
That's excellent. That was my next question. How long did it take you to convince your colleagues that this was the right thing to do?
It was a multi-year process. For many people who have not been exposed to certain parts of our history, there's a hesitance to actually accepting facts, and whether it's a personal bias, whether it is a cultural bias or whatever, we see that when our country has faced places of turmoil, there are some people who may not understand or believe, or if they have not been close to it, they may not realize what pain or celebration it may have caused. And for me, it was, the first year in 2015, I just spent a lot of time just educating my colleagues, talking to them about Juneteenth and about what does it mean for independence, and what did it mean for African Americans here in this country. And after that first year, after having those conversations, I was able to reintroduce the bill in 2016, and that's ultimately when it was signed into law by the governor, getting it through the House and the Senate.
So it's an official holiday in Arizona, is that correct?
It is an official holiday in the state of Arizona, yes.
All right, that's terrific. How many times, were you the first? I know you've been in the state legislation for 6 years now, right?
So this is my 7th year. So you're almost there, right?
Okay, yeah. Terrific. Can you tell us, did anyone prior to you coming in try to make Juneteenth a holiday before you came into the office?
Yes, there have been several leaders in our community who represented many parts of Arizona, whether they're in Southern Arizona, Northern Arizona, Maricopa County area, that there's been individuals who've introduced it. And so I really stand on the shoulders of those giants who've introduced the conversation to other colleagues who may or may not have still been there. But it is something that, has been introduced before, but, I was able to really, build on the relationships to get it across the bridge.
Wonderful. I was talking to Valerie Stanley, who's the director of Juneteenth down here in Tucson, and she is the one that introduced me to you and all the wonderful work that you've done, and told me that your voice has to be on this podcast, and I appreciated her so much. Tell me, I know because of COVID, we didn't have it. We're not going to have it this year. We're not going to have a festival this year, and we didn't have one last year. How are you envisioning our festival for 2022? Do you expect that we're going to have in all of the cities around the state a major festival, a fun festival with music and food and all of that?
I really hope so. I mean, Juneteenth is again a celebration of, the history, a celebration of freedom for, African Americans here in this country. And it is no better way to celebrate than to convene with people. And I know here in Maricopa County, there's a few different locations that are deciding to actually have some in-person Juneteenth events. I know there's also some virtual events, but it won't be the same unless we get everyone across the state having the opportunity to really celebrate and enjoy and see each other. And I'm hopeful that in 2022 that will happen.
So now, prior to COVID, and did we have large celebrations around the state prior to COVID?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can tell you as a candidate, as an elected official, and just as a community member, it was always awesome to visit Juneteenth festivities, whether they were in, the city that I was in, or outside of, the city that I stay in. It was always a great opportunity for us just to convene, and whether you have booths, you have poetry, you have spoken word, you may have some hip hop, you have food. It was just literally a celebration, a great time, and I can see a day in which that's gonna happen again.
Well, I'm hoping in 2022 that Boom Goddess Radio will have a booth out in wherever it is they decide to have it, in Phoenix or in Tucson, and we can do some live recordings right from the festivities.
From your words, from your lips to God's ears, let's make that happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. During this series, I've interviewed some really remarkable historians that spoke about Juneteenth, and one of the things that I'm a foodie. Are you a foodie?
You put a plate in front of me, and I absolutely will eat it.
Okay, we had the privilege of having a chef on talking about. We wanted to talk about the rich traditional foods of Juneteenth, and so we have on our, and I'll make sure that you get it on our website. We're going to have. She put a recipe on for Carolina red rice. Okay. Red. I'm sure you know this, but red was the traditional color of the foods of Juneteenth, which I did not know. And she talked about red velvet cake and strawberry pie and strawberry drinks that all represent Juneteenth in terms of the food that we're going to be eating. And I did not have any idea that represents, the red represents the blood that was shed during slavery.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know that either. So you're educating me a little bit here.
So we're going to have lots of wonderful food and recipes online. For our listeners, I just want to brag about you for just a minute, if you don't mind. For our listeners that may not know, House Minority Leader Reginald Bolding has been a leading advocate for all Arizonans. He has been recognized as the Public Elected Official of the Year by the AFL-CIO, National Association of Social Workers, and along with being named the top Phoenix Business Journal for 40 under 40 list. That's very impressive.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You have just been doing remarkable work. Tell me, what would you like to talk about in terms of is there anything else you'd like to talk about relating to Juneteenth? I had a lot of questions, and it seemed like you're a good interview because you've answered most of my questions before I even asked them. So tell me about, I'm new to Arizona.
Yeah.
And I'm a New York, Chicago girl. And I didn't want to do any more snow and ice, and Arizona was one of those states that was very appealing to me. So how long have you been in Arizona?
I've been in Arizona about 13 years. I'm originally from the Midwest as well. So when you say snow and ice, girl, I'm thinking snowing ice guy, and I will remember getting the ice pick and getting it off the windshield, and you warm up the car before you get in the car, and I remember all of that. And there is something I think is extremely important that listeners know about. And so right now here, not only in Arizona but across this country, what we are seeing is an attack on freedom, an attack on democracy. In 43 states, there has been over 350 bills introduced to directly impact voters' rights. And when I think about Juneteenth and the right for freedom and liberty and the ability to have your voices heard, I directly look at our democracy and making sure that people here in our country are able to use that voice. They're able to have that freedom. And present day, we're seeing legislation that's trying to take us back to those days where our voices weren't able to be heard, where we weren't able to truly say what we meant and how we felt. And I think we have an opportunity as a people, an opportunity as a community, an opportunity as a state and as a country to really push back against the Jim Crow type legislation that we've been seeing introduced, to really ensure that on this Juneteenth, not only are we free from what we've seen historically, but we want to make sure that we continue to fight for our freedom and what we're seeing present day.
It's really quite a shame. I'm quite a bit older than you are, and so I've lived through all of it. You know, I've lived through, I was in New York City when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And so I was an adult as we went through all of the assassinations and the struggles that we had and the voting rights. And it pains my heart, as it does all of us, that we are still fighting that fight.
We are still fighting that fight. And when your viewers have an opportunity to hear this will be after I've already made an announcement that I'll let you all know, and that I am actually running to fight and live out the dream of our ancestors, to make sure that we have the ability to protect democracy and our freedom. And that's why I'm running for Secretary of State here in Arizona, to make sure that we have the ability to protect our democracy, to protect our rights, and to make sure that we never have to go back to a time in which, we don't have the ability to express our voice, because we truly know that our voice is our vote.
Are you breaking news on Boom Goddess Radio today on June 2nd that you're going to run for Secretary of State?
I am breaking news on Boom Goddess.
Oh my goodness, I am just absolutely thrilled. This is absolutely wonderful. If there's anything that Boom Goddess Radio can do to assist in your run, please, we'll always be a voice here for you.
I appreciate that.
We have just a few minutes left before we take our break. Tell me, when is your campaign going to start?
Yep.
Or has it officially started?
So the campaign is starting now, and we are up and down the state doing the work and making sure that people are able to build on a movement of a democracy that works for everybody. And we are excited about that work.
We thank you at Boom Goddess Radio. All the citizens of Arizona, thank you for all the work that you've done. And we are here to support you. And again, thank you for being on Boom Goddess Radio with us today. Breaking news for everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You as well. Thank you.